Hello and welcome to this new lesson, which is intended for students of grade 12. In this episode, we're going to revise grammar and we're going to learn the past perfect simple and the past perfect continuous. But first, we'll take a short break, then we'll be right back. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back, dear students. In this grammar lesson, we're going to revise the past perfect and the past perfect continuous. Now, here is an excerpt from your student book, and I highlighted the verbs. Let's have a closer look at the sentences in which these verbs occurred. He had reached the top. So, had reached is the verb in this sentence. Now, the second sentence reads, the hardest thing he had ever done. The verb is had done. Third sentence, and this had helped him to keep going. So, had helped is the verb. And last sentence, you may think that Zaid al-Rifa'i had had enough of mountains. So, had is the verb in this sentence. Now, notice that these verbs are conjugated in the past perfect simple tense. How do we form the past perfect simple tense? Okay, so we have these verbs, had reached, had done, had helped, and had. Notice that we have the auxiliary verb had, which is followed by the past participle of the verb in question. Okay? So remember that we form the past perfect simple tense by using had plus the past participle. Now, past participle of verbs are very tricky area for some students. Now, the past participle of verbs, of regular verbs, are very easy to form. So you just add the ed marker at the end of the verb and you're done, such as listen, and the past participle is listened, watch, watched, move, moved. Okay? But some verbs are irregular, which means that the form of the verb changes. And here is an excerpt from your student's book on page 139. And in here, you will find an exhaustive list of most commonly used regular verbs. For example, you'll have the base form of the verbs, and in front you will find a list of the past participles. Okay, I want to check whether you know the past participle of some irregular verbs or not. Okay, let's practice. You'll see it's fun. Now, past participle of the verb think is thought. Go ahead. What do you think the past participle of the verb buy? Good try. Bought. Next one is the verb sleep, and the past participle of this verb is slept. Also, dream. Dream is formed by adding T at the end, dreamt. And throw, the past participle of this verb is thrown. And wear, come on, make a guess. Wear, the past participle of this is worn. Now, by using the past participle, we can very easily come up with the past perfect. Okay, so we finish with last verb, swim, swam. Now, with the past participle, we can come up with the past perfect. We can conjugate any verb in the past perfect simple tense. And that's by just adding the auxiliary verb had. So think, the past perfect is had thought. For the verb buy, the past perfect had, and the past participle of the verb buy is bought, had bought. And next one is sleep, and the past perfect is had slept. Now, next verb is dream, and the past perfect is had dreamt. Throw in the past perfect tense, had thrown. Wear becomes had worn, and the last verb, swim, in the past perfect tense, had swum. Okay, so far so good. Now, when do we use the past perfect simple tense? Now, we use the past perfect tense when we talk about two actions that occurred in the past, but one came before the other. So we're talking about a sequence of actions, a sequence of events, two events that took place in the past, but one came before the other one. So I'm going to talk about yesterday. Yesterday is something that's ended, it's finished. So yesterday at 3 o'clock, I wrote a letter. At 5 o'clock, 2 hours later, 2 hours after the first action, my brother came home. Now I'm going to ask you a very easy to answer question, which is, which action came first? Both actions are in the past. Both actions happened yesterday, but one came before the other. Which one came first? It's this one. I wrote a letter is the action that came first. Okay? And then my brother came home. So, in order to put or to conjugate this verb correctly, we use the past perfect tense. Remember, the past perfect tense is formed by using had as a helping verb, followed by the past participle of the verb in question. The verb here is wrote. It's the verb write in the simple past. In the past participle, we use or we say written. So the complete sentence reads, I had written a letter. I had written a letter. This verb is in the past perfect tense, and it's formed by using had plus the past participle. Okay. Now, it's very easy to understand sentences by using what we call a timeline. It is a chronological line in which we put all the actions in a linear way, okay, according to when they happened. So the sentence is, I had written the letter before my brother came home. This is today. I'm not talking about today. I'm talking about two actions that happened in the past, that happened yesterday. And the first one took place at 3 o'clock. Okay? I wrote a letter at 3 o'clock. And the second action took place at 5 o'clock. And this action is, my brother came home. So to show that this action came first, I use the past perfect tense. So, I had written a letter before my brother came home. Very clear, right? We'll do some more practice. I'm going to talk about earlier this afternoon. Now, earlier this afternoon at 3 o'clock, I finished my homework. Being a good student, I finished my homework first. After that, it's time for entertainment. I went playing football. Right, which action came first? This one is the one that precedes the other one. So this comes first. I finished my homework and then I went playing football. We take the first action that took place first and then we use the past perfect. And the past perfect of this regular verb is had finished. It's very easy, straightforward. I had finished my homework before I went playing football. Now let's use a timeline. Now is 6 o'clock. That's the present. I'm not talking about the present. Remember, the past perfect refers me back to two actions that took place in the past, that finished in the past. And the first action is at 3 o'clock, and that is I finished my homework. The second one took place at 4 o'clock, and that was I went playing football. Right, because this one came first, I should say I had finished my homework before I went playing football. Right? Need some more practice? No problem. Here is another sentence. The traffic was terrible yesterday. Okay? So overcrowded. Streets are full. And by the time I got to the train station, the station had left. Let's use a timeline. By the time I got to the station, the train had left. Now, I arrived late. Before I arrived, the train had left. It had left at any point of time before the moment I arrived. Okay? So the train had left before I arrived. The first verb should be in the past perfect, had left. The second verb should be in the simple past, arrived. Okay, another sentence. So what I want you to do is to read the sentence and try to figure out which verb came first. So Majid took his music lesson, and that was last Friday. Okay, it's last week, it's past. And the second one, he made a phone call. So to form a sentence, after Majid had taken his music lesson, he made a telephone call. Now, can you use before to link these two actions? All right. Before Majid made the phone call, he had taken his music lesson. Now, we use had taken because this action occurred first. It shows here that he had taken his music lesson first at 7 o'clock, and then later on, after 1 hour, he made the phone call. Right, so can you form a sentence of your own by just looking at these two pictures? Look at the first action. The first action, he repaired his car, okay? The second one, he went fishing. Now let's join these actions together, okay, by showing the sequence of events, the sequence of these actions, to show that one action happened first and then another action happened after that, and both actions are in the past, right? What had Ali done before he went fishing? To answer this question, which is using a verb in the past perfect, we say Ali had repaired his car before he went fishing. He repaired his car first, and then he went fishing. Okay? Good. So don't forget that we use the past perfect tense to describe one past action happening before another past action. Okay? Great. Now try to make similar sentences using after and before. Okay? So have a look at these two pictures, try to link them, try to link the two actions, show which one came first. Okay? So we have finish work, watch TV. Let's use after. After I had finished work, I watched TV. If I want to use before, the sentence reads like this. Before I watched TV, I had finished my work. Okay, let's practice more. Make similar sentences using as soon as. This is another keyword for the past perfect tense. So eat breakfast, go to school. And here is the sentence. As soon as I had eaten my breakfast, I went to school. So it's common logic, okay? It's common sense. I had eaten my breakfast, then I went to school. Right. Now make similar sentences using by the time. By the time is an expression also that signals the past perfect tense. Police arrive, this is the first action. Police arrived. The second one, the thief escaped. So, by the time the police arrived, the thief had escaped or had already escaped. Okay? Now, the key words to be used with the past perfect tense could be by the time, never, when, hardly, when, or as soon as, or no sooner. A word like before, until, and after. Okay? So these words could signal the use of the past perfect tense. Okay? So now let's practice or let's learn the use of the past perfect tense with wish. Now, sometimes you need to use the past perfect tense when you express a regret in the past. Okay, so to express regrets about something that happened or didn't happen in the past, you use wish followed by the past perfect. For example, we say, he wished he had trained hard for the competition. It means that he didn't practice well, he didn't prepare himself well for the competition, and he lost the contest. Okay, but he wished, something in the past, he wished he had trained. We use the past perfect. Let's read the sentence that is on top. She wished she had learned typing in order to help her husband with his work. Okay, so notice here that she wished. Wished is a verb in the past. This is something that she wished for earlier or in the past, and it expresses here regret. Okay? The most important thing in this sentence is that the verb is in the past perfect tense, had learned. Good. Now, how about using the past perfect with conditional sentences? Yes, we've studied earlier in previous units that we can use if plus the past perfect, and in the main clause we use would have plus past participle to talk about conditional sentences type 3. For example, if I had studied hard, I would have passed the test. Okay, so how about the past perfect verbs which are in the negative form? Now, to form the negative form, we use had plus not plus past participle, and the short form is hadn't plus past participle. Let's see some examples. He had not done. Okay, so he had not done, and in the short form we say hadn't done. Next example, they had not understood. The short form is they hadn't understood. And I had not been to that place, for example. Had not been can be contracted, can be shortened by saying I hadn't been. Okay, so easy and so straightforward. The only thing to remember is that if you want to use the negative, then the negative marker, the word not or never, should be placed in between the auxiliary verb had and the past participle of the verb. So you split the auxiliary verb, the helping verb, from the past participle, and you place the negative marker not or the word never or any other word that shows the negative meaning of the verb in between. Okay, so had not plus the past participle, and the short form hadn't followed by the past participle. Right. Now, how about using the past perfect simple tense in questions? Right. So here's in the first column you will see the word order of the past perfect tense in a sentence. You use the subject followed by had followed by the past participle. However, in the second column you will see the word order of question. Okay, so you start with the helping verb or the auxiliary verb had, and then the subject, and then the past participle. Okay, let's practice. Hamad had repaired his car, or Hamad has repaired his laptop. Now we have subject and then had and then the past participle of the verb. If I want to make a question, I need to change or switch the order of these words. I will start the sentence with the helping verb had. Okay, so this is a question. Had Hamad repaired his laptop? Had Hamad repaired his car? Don't forget to end the interrogative sentence with a question mark. Okay, another example, practice further. They had prepared well for the competition, for example. So they had prepared, we have subject and then had prepared in the past perfect tense. If you want to ask a question, then you switch the order of the or the place of the auxiliary verb and the subject. Now the difference between the first sentence and the second one is that Hamad had repaired, the subject is a noun, and the second one, they had prepared, the subject here is a pronoun. Could be he, she, they, or we, or whatever pronoun there is. Okay, so to ask a question, we say, had they prepared well for the competition? Okay, so easy. Now, what if what if you want to ask content question, which means you want to ask about something. You don't want to ask a yes-no question, because when you start with the helping verb had, you are the listener or the person, the interlocutor, the person you're talking to will answer with yes or no. Had they prepared well? The answer would be yes, yes, they had prepared well, or no, they hadn't prepared well. But what if you want to ask about time, about place, about reason, or something else? So here you need to just use the WH question word at the beginning of your interrogative sentence. So you say, why had they prepared for the competition, or when had they prepared for the competition, or where had they prepared, and so on and so forth. Okay, so it's very easy, it's very simple. All you need to do is just use the appropriate question word, and you end up with a fully accurate and correct interrogative sentence or question. Okay, good. Now, what about the past perfect simple tense in passive voice constructions, in passive voice sentences? Well, so easy, don't panic, okay? It's so easy. Now, a normal sentence starts with had and past participle. We're talking about the verb structure in the past perfect tense, had plus past participle. If you want to use the passive voice, you use had been plus past participle. You simply add the word been. Okay, so had been plus past participle. This is past perfect in passive voice. For example, Hamad had repaired his laptop. Can you form the passive voice? Can you complete this sentence starting with the laptop? So remember what I said, you use had been plus past participle. So the answer is the laptop had been repaired. Okay, now next sentence, my mother had prepared the meal. Okay, to change this into passive voice, then we say the meal had been and prepared. So easy, right? Now let's move to practice. From A, B, C, and D, choose the correct answer. After he had missed the bus, a taxi. So he took a taxi, he takes a taxi, he had taken a taxi, he taken a taxi. Now, here we have two different actions. Two actions happened in the past, but one came before the other. Which one came first? It's the fact that he missed the bus. So this verb should be in the past perfect tense, had missed the bus. The second action should be in the simple past tense. So here the right answer is took. After he had missed the bus, he took a taxi. Good. We move to the next sentence, which reads, before they got to England, their flat. And here are the options. Sell, their flat, had sold, have sold, or are selling. Okay, so before they got to England, they had sold their flat. Okay, so first they had sold their flat, and then they went to England. The car, before she got into the shop, had parked, hadn't parked, had been parked, or had been parking. Okay, so be careful with this sentence. Doesn't seem straightforward. You need to think about the actions and also who did the action, who's the doer of the action, and who's the recipient of the action. So the car had been parked by the driver, by the lady, who then got into the shop. Okay, so here is a past perfect tense of the verb, but it is in the passive voice. So remember, to form the passive voice of a verb that is in the past perfect, we use had been plus the past participle. All right, so next sentence. When I left the house, I breakfast yet. Well, I hadn't had breakfast yet. I had had, I haven't, or I hadn't. Think about it. When I left the house, I breakfast yet. We use yet most often with negative verbs. So here I'm looking for negative verbs. So option B will be discarded from the very beginning. And you have to choose between A, C, and D. C is in the present in the present tense, D is in the simple past tense, and A is in the past perfect tense. So when I left the house, okay, before that, I had had my breakfast. Okay, so the option is A. When I left the house, I hadn't had breakfast yet. Okay, maybe he ate his breakfast later on. The house before you told him the truth. Notice the presence of the question mark at the end of the sentence. This is an interrogative sentence. This is a question. So how should we start this question? By saying he had left the house, or had he leave, or had he, or had he left. So the right answer is, had he left the house before you told him the truth? Until 1953, nobody Mount Everest. So had been climbing, had been climbed, had climbed, or has climbed. Until 1953, nobody, come on, make a guess. Nobody had climbed Mount Everest. Okay, so next sentence. I wish. Remember, we use I wish also with the past perfect to express regret for something that someone did or didn't do in the past. So I wish I went bungee jumping, had gone bungee jumping when I had the chance, or gone, or have gone. We're talking about the past, and the right option is had gone. I wish I had gone bungee jumping, but he didn't. He didn't go. If only I harder for yesterday's exam. Study, studied, had studied, or I'm studying. So the right answer is, give you a few seconds to think. So if only I had studied harder for yesterday's exam. This is also a conditional sentence, type 3. Next sentence. If I home early, I wouldn't have gotten into the accident. And the options are went, have gone, I'm going, and had gone. The right answer is had gone. It's straightforward. As long as in the main clause there is would have plus past participle, you should use the past perfect in the subordinate clause. Okay, so if I had gone home early, I wouldn't have gotten into the accident. Sonia said, this is a reported speech. Okay, it's a reported speech. Sonia said to lock the door the previous night. Had forgotten, hadn't forgotten, forgot, or has forgotten. So what do you think the right answer is? Okay, I'm reporting a sentence. Okay, the right answer is hadn't forgotten. Okay, and the direct speech, the verb could be in the past, in the simple past, or in the present perfect. So when we report them, they become past perfect. Next sentence. Had the internet when you were born been invented, invented, has invented, or invent? The right answer is been invented. Had the internet been invented when you were born? I had seen the movie. You finished the book. After, before, while, or yet. So I had seen the movie before you finished the book. Okay, so I had seen the movie before the other action took place. Okay, so let's move on to the last sentence of this exercise, which reads, I sushi before I came to Japan. Okay, and the options are had never eaten, had eaten never, never had eaten, and never eaten. Okay, so what do you think the correct answer is? So easy. The right word order of the present perfect tense is had, followed by the negative word never, followed by the past participle of the verb, okay, which is the verb eat. Now, dear students, thank you very much for your time and attention. This lesson has come to an end. We'll continue with the present perfect continuous in another episode. Till then, I wish you the best of luck. Goodbye.